I would like to disagree. Beat yourself up about it. Girl, if you want to have money in your 30s, you better be saving up in your 20s.
Pag may plano ka, put yourself and not other people into perspective of what you need to do to be able to achieve that goal.
Welcome to Adulting with Joyce, Pring. Watch the full video of this episode on my channel, www.youtube.com/JoycePringTV. And if you want to level up your adulting game, check out joycepring.com/collections for my digital products and courses.
It's a mukbang episode.
Hindi naman mukbang episode, podcast pa rin to. Pero, technically mukbang nga. Welcome to
The
another...
first ever mukbang on Spotify.
Actually, kasi, gutom na kami. So, sabi ko, sige, okay lang yan. Kain na lang tayo habang nag-shoot tayo na episode because it's a pretty casual podcast anyway. So, welcome to another episode of Adulting with Joyce Pring 20’s. Wala kang addition.
Wala.
Kumakain na siya. Okay, sige. Today, we have another question from you guys that we wanted to answer. It's all about finances. Oh, let's go. Let's hear it.
Hello, Miss Joyce. I love listening to your podcast. Thank you for creating wonderful and relatable contents. You have inspired me to be a better person, so thank you. I would like to ask you for advice about people who don't have savings in their 20s because there are a lot of financial advisors on social media saying that in your 20s you should already be saving up, and unconsciously it kind of creates pressure on people like me, or I don't know if there are people like me, the ones who are in their 20s but don't have savings because money is just enough, and you are torn between saving up and living your life. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to keep worrying whether I have savings in my bank account. So thank you for your advice.
Okay, so question about how to not feel pressured and what we think about saving in your 20s. I'll let you go first because I have a lot of things to say about this.
First of all,
Thanks for that
hanggang
question.
ngayon,
Ano ba yun? Grabe naman. Okay.
Hindi. Ganito kasi yun. Para sa akin, ito, different side of the spectrum ako. Usually, kapag may mga nagsasabi na kailangan mo ng savings, X, Y, and Z, totoo naman yun. Kailangan naman talaga to save up for a rainy day. But, I have never felt pressure na, parang life and death na kailangan. Kasi, may ibang mga tao na kayang gawin yun because of, kunyari, let's say, I'm gonna speak for myself, ha? Kasi malapit lang sila sa pinagkatrabuhan nila, wala naman sila binabayaran sa lodging nila, or yung bills are being taken care of, madali naman talaga mag-save. But magsisimula yun sa financial literacy mo. Pag hindi ka financially literate, ibig sabihin, hindi ka nagsisave dahil sa sarili mo, doon ka na medyo ma-pressure kasi madadala mo yun hanggang sa in the future, di ba? So parang para sa akin, don't feel pressured kung yun talaga yung kaya mo at that moment. Kung at that moment, day-to-day ka pa rin na parang you're living from paycheck to paycheck. It happens to the best of us. Don't feel that pressure. Always strive though to improve and to look for other options where you will grow even more. Pero kung ano yung if you're going to have the perspective of ito kasi sinabi nitong guy na to or ito yung sinabi ng ibang mga tao, ito yung kailangan mangyari sa na hindi ka pa binibigyan ni God ng opportunity to be able to do that as of the moment. Don't beat yourself up about it, is what I'm going to say. And always strive to just improve.
I would like to disagree. Beat yourself up about it. Just kidding. Dito nyo sobrang makikita yung sobrang difference in personality namin ni Juancho because he's really like that. Like, his perspective is always like, don't worry, relax ka lang, it'll happen, you just have to strive to be better, ganyan. I'm not like that. Girl, if you want to have money in your 30s, you better be saving up in your 20s and do everything absolutely in your power to do so. But I agree naman with what Juancho is saying in that if you're only pressured and doing it because another person said that you should be doing it, then probably that's not a great move. Although I do believe that there is wisdom in what other people online, of course, financial advisors, mga professionals are saying, even your parents, even your friends who are very good with money, may wisdom dun eh. So, you cannot just discount it. Like, there are certain things that you also have to kailangan mo lang piliin yung mga, 'di ba, magagandang advice tapos the rest na sa tingin mong hindi applicable sa buhay mo, wag mong gagawin. And I completely agree din na may mga taong talagang living paycheck to paycheck lang because yun lang yung kaya talaga. Now, from what I heard kasi dun sa question, parang ang sabi niya is stuck siya between I just want to live my life and I should probably be saving up something because I'm in my 20s.
Yeah.
The first thing that I want to say, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, love, is you have to ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to have? So, in your 20s, when you're starting out working, you have to ask yourself, do I want a life where I'm just sakto lang, chill lang, sakto lang yung income ko, sakto lang yung lifestyle ko, nakakapag-enjoy ako, nakakapag-travel ako, pero halos wala akong savings, as in sakto lang talaga. Or, do you want to have a life where madami kang savings and eventually you see yourself retiring earlier than your other peers? Because that's the first question that you have to ask. And I asked myself that question when I was in my early 20s. Like probably 19, 20, I was asking myself that question. And that's why the period of my life from 19 to 26, all I did was work. And I'm telling you, it's not the best route because I lost relationships. Some relationships were not as developed as I wanted them to. I got hospitalized a few times because of overworking and overfatigue. I was isolated many times. I have lost a lot of friends because my number one priority was to earn money and to be successful at what I did. And that's the kind of life that I chose. And then eventually, I chose to slow down. Like right now, I'm not saying naman that I'm not working. Obviously, I'm still working, but it's no longer my priority. My priority now is my family. So you have to ask yourself that question. And if your answer is, I want to be in my 30s, and when I'm in my 30s, I want to be a bit more comfortable and a bit more stable. Then, in your 20s pa lang, kailangan mo na mag-make ng sacrifices and decisions that will be uncomfortable for a period of time so that you can be comfortable in your 30s. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Just to add to that, I agree. Having no plan at all is a roadmap to failure.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that look like siguro in your 20s? Yun ganun nga, just to reiterate what you said. Kung at age 35 or 45 or 40, whatever it is, kung ito yung buhay na gusto mo by that time, what will it take for you to get there? What savings, how much should I be earning ngayon pa lang to be able to, let's say, have my own house in the future, drive my own car, whatever. Kasi isa sa pinaka-importanting financial advice na binigay sa akin is that don't spend money that you don't have. Kapag may plano ka, it will, again, put yourself and not other people into perspective of what you need to do to be able to achieve that goal that you have. And yun nga, parang si Mark Cuban din yung nagsabi. How much savings do you need? Parang sabi niya, Syempre, barring
He's a
rainy
billionaire, so
rainy days, etc.
take it with a grain of
Oo.
salt.
You should have like 3 months of operating expenses or lahat ng kailangan mo para mabuhay with your bills, uh, whatever that may be. Para mga 3 months of that stored up. So, if you don't have work the next month or biglang something happens, something, di ba, you have something to fall back on a couple of months before you get back on your feet. So I think that's wise. That's ideal, pero syempre it doesn't work out that way for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is totally understandable. And don't feel ashamed of it. It's okay. Again, it happens to everyone. As long as you know it by heart na hindi ko ginagawa to, just like what you said. Hindi ko ginagawa to para dahil sinabi ko to or sinabi ng ibang tao or sinabi ng mga financial advisors out there. You're doing this for yourself is what I want to say.
Yeah, okay. So, the caveat is, we're giving this advice from the perspective of hindi ka naman gipit. Okay? Ang sinasabi mo dito is, kasi I want to travel with my friends, I get my nails done every 2 weeks, I get Starbucks coffee or some expensive coffee every other day. You know, like, yung money that you could save, you instead spend to live your life, right? If that's the case that you're making here, I would agree with Juancho na ipunin mo muna na magkaroon ka ng emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. Kapag meron ka na nun sa banko mo, then okay, if you want to, splurge a little bit, diba, every so often, buy something that you may not necessarily need but you want, if you already have that savings. And the key here naman talaga is to find that balance between still enjoying your life, being able to at least go out with your friends every once in a while, being able to travel every once in a while, but at the same time, keeping in mind that you're not just wasting the money that you have. Because also from a biblical perspective, diba, we want to be good stewards of the blessings that God has given us and not just waste it by doing whatever we wanted with it as if we own it, because we don't. It's really God's. Everything that we own is of the Lord, so we're just stewards, and yun yung perspective ko din ever since. Kaya even with the way that I work, I would always think, if I'm not being excellent as unto the Lord, then it's a disservice to all of the talents, the time, and the treasure that God has given me. So, ibibigay ko to the maximum effort, the most excellent thing that I can give unto the Lord. Kasi worship ko yung work that I'm doing for Him. And that has really blessed me. God has really blessed me through that. But I've also learned a lot of lessons through it na pwede pala yun mag-move into pagiging workaholic, pwede pa yun mag-move into anxiety-ridden worry of constantly thinking like, do I have enough money? Is this enough? Am I working enough? Blah, 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 blah. So it's really just striking that balance. And I'm 31 this year. I'm turning 31 on May. And I will tell you that I feel like I didn't save enough in my 20s. Ang dami ko pa ring ginastos na, oh my goodness, sana hindi ko pala ginastos yun doon. Sana pala hindi ko binili to. Sana pala mas naging wise ako in that particular area of my life. But generally, parang yung 80% ng decision making ko, I could say na I did my best to be prudent. Prudent pa yung tamang word. I did my best to be, smart with saving my money. And then yung 20%, parang, nagasta ko siya ng hindi masyadong okay. So, you have to figure that out. What is the balance of you still enjoying your 20s and doing what you want, while at the same time prioritizing your future and making sure that you have your investments in check and all of these things. Granted na hindi ka naman gipit na gipit and kaya mong, minsan kasi, to be frank with you, may mga experiences din ako na sinasabi ko, when I was in my early 20s, grabe, I was just living paycheck to paycheck. Pero if I look back at it now, I was living paycheck to paycheck because I was living a lifestyle that was not fit to the money that I was making. So if you're making a specific amount of money, be wise about it, 'di ba? So kung isa-save mo yung 20% doon, wag ka nang gumastos ng unnecessarily by eating outside, traveling when you don't have the money to, ganyan-ganyan. Yeah, so yung ninang nga namin recently, pinagalitan ako, sabi niya, girl, wag kang travel ng travel kahit dahil malungkot ka lang. Mag-set ka muna ng quota sa sarili mo. Pag may na-save ka na ganito, then sige, mag-travel ka whatever you want. Because it's okay to splurge and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But you have to first ask yourself, am I being a good steward of all of these blessings? Or am I just acting impulsively according to my wills and my wants? Not only in that spiritual aspect, which is the most important thing, but also in the pragmatic aspect na, are you wasting these opportunities and the money that you can save and that you can reinvest because you want to fill this hole in your heart na, I just want to do other things that would make me happy at this moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Meron din akong so if I usually look towards yung advice from kung ano yung ginagawa ng mga successful ones in life. Katulad ni Kevin O'Leary. I mentioned this to you last week. Tapos nakita ko yung isang sinabi niya. Siyempre extreme siya at basically wala siyang pakialam sa nararamdaman natin. Pero ang sinabi niya, if you do not have savings, I forbid you to buy overpriced coffee. And that's such a true and overused ano ba yun? Parang standard in our lives right now. Kasi ano naman talaga syempre maraming gustong gumastos for coffee that you can have at home. And yun nga yung parang magbabayad ka ng too much, borderline too much for that kind of coffee. Whereas may mas importanteng bagay sa mundo na kailangan mong gastusan or to save up. Nakakatawa rin yung si Michael V. He made sobrang nag-viral yung music video na ginawa niya, di ba?
Diba wala ka na kung pera. Ano?
Bakit ka pa bumibili?
That's overpriced coffee.
Kasi naging inspiration doon niya yung nag-viral na isang coffee shop na sobrang daming nakapila, as in blockbuster yung pila. It's just an ordinary, hindi naman siya ordinary coffee shop, but it's a well-known coffee shop that's basically all over the place. Pero nakikita naman natin na marami nagrereklamo sa pagkawala ng trabaho nila during the pandemic, or marami nagrereklamo dahil wala silang savings, X, Y, and Z. Pero you still see people, or you still hear about people still spending on overpriced things na hindi priority in life.
Yeah. Like, can I also share? I didn't know the concept of, and I didn't actually spend a lot of money on takeouts and eating outside until I was like in my mid-20s. Kasi parang majority of my life, I would just be saving money. Like, I didn't come from a family that had a lot of money. So, for example, the first car that I bought, even though I was already working in TV, was this second-hand beat-up Honda City that I bought second-hand, and it was very cheap lang, but it was a car that got me from one place to another. And then the first bulk of money that I got when I started earning when I was 22, I bought kaagad insurance because that was one of the first things that you needed to buy. Like, nobody in my life has taught me about that, but I was reading that in a book, and so that's what I did. I invested in insurance, and then when I was 23, I bought my first property, and I made sure that I was constantly getting work and doing all of these hard work and forbidding myself from buying expensive things or even small luxuries like expensive coffee because I had something that I wanted to pay for. So, I guess to your point, kailangan mong ma-figure out ano ba yung longer term na goal mo. 'Di ba? So, yung favorite ko na thinking is you're not forbidding yourself from buying overpriced coffee, you are reinvesting that overpriced coffee money into a future car that you want to buy or a future house that you want to buy. So parang it's just the way that you will rearrange the thinking process in your brain.
Yeah. And kung iisipin mo rin naman kasi, 200 pesos lang naman yan, ganyan-ganyan. But if you buy 200 pesos worth of coffee in the course of 1 year, how much would you get, diba? How much savings would have that been instead as compared to, your regular cup of joe at home. So, medyo malaking difference yun. So, yun lang. That's it for me. Don't feel pressured. Chill ka lang.
Hindi, ma-pressure ka, tama
Make
yan.
wise decisions.
Hindi, mag-pressure ka. Joke lang. Wait, okay. My final tip and advice would be, saving doesn't have to be a grand thing. Even if you save, let's say, 1,000 pesos per month. 1,000 pesos per month lang siya. Sabihin natin, meron kang 12,000 pesos per year. Yun lang yung naitabi mo. In 5 years or in 10 years, meron ka ng 120,000 pesos that you've saved up from when you were 20 to when you are 30 years old. Even if it's just that, right? Like you're slowly adding to this money pile that you'll eventually be able to use for your retirement or for a business that you want to do, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be a grand thing. Your savings doesn't have to be like 30 or 40% kaagad ng pera ko mapupunta sa savings. Kung hindi mo kaya yun, no matter how small an amount you can get, yun na yung unahin mo because it's really important. But I agree with my husband, wag ka masyado ma-pressure.
At saka isang magandang technique, magtabi muna kayo. Like kapag nakakuha niyo yung sweldo niyo, itabi niyo na kaagad. Huwag niyo nang tingnan.
Nakikinig ka ba, Joyla?
Itabi mo na kaagad sa isa pang bank account mo.
Savings muna bago spending.
Kunyari yan, 1,000 or 2,000. I-mindset mo na itong parang sabihin nating 50% ng sweldo ko, pwede mong gastusin, pwede mong i-splurge on.
Yeah.
And isang malaking thing din. So after you've saved, after you paid off the bills, mas maganda na yung timing ng pag-splurge mo ay kapag malapit ka na sa sweldo ulit.
Para hindi ka mapetsa de peligro.
Kasi
Tama.
mahirap na nga naman yun di ba? Malay mo.
Smart.
Ilan weeks lang naman yun. 2 weeks lang naman yun. Ilang araw lang. Kalma ka lang muna. Makikain ka sa bahay ng magulang mo palagi. Tambay ka lang doon buong araw. Kahit 10 araw mo na ganun lang. Tapos, repeat the process, di ba? Okay ka na. Wise lang.
Alright. Well, we hope that helped you kahit na may sprinkle of kalokohan yung iba doon. The rest naman is from our personal experiences that we hope will help you. Any last words? Wala na. Okay.
Wala na matino.
Thank you guys for joining us for this episode of the podcast. Inabutan na tayo ng araw. We'll see you on the next one. If you want to send in a video, a voice note, or even just a letter to hello@joycepring.com to get your questions read here on air. And we'll see you on the next one. Paalam!
Pwede rin snail mail or scroll. Hear ye.
Padala nyo na lang.
That's it for this episode of Adulting with Joyce Pring. If you liked this podcast, please don't forget to use the hashtag Adulting with Joyce Pring and also check out www.joycepring.com for the show notes and tag me on social media with @Joyce Pring. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Paalam!